Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World.
PBS Online. Share, tweet, watch.
Coming soon to Arizona PBS.
Next time on Father Brown, a witch coven is operating in Campbellford.
They worship other gods. Doesn't make them evil.
And when a woman is found dead in the woods,
She was a witch.
Looks like the school was crushed.
some want mob justice. Father Brown.
Saturday night at 7 on Arizona PBS. Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Deanne Griebel, now with Moores & Cabot Investments, serving investors since 1890, proudly supports quality programming on 8 Arizona PBS, 480-725-9602.
Ironwood Cancer and Research Centers, personalized cancer care through medical oncology, radiation oncology, and radiology services, focusing on emotional, physical, and social support, outsmarting cancer one patient at a time.
From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
I feel like the dreams of me transferring to Arizona State University are becoming more real.
The Maricopa County Community College Board votes to appeal the latest ruling, taking away in-state tuition from DACA students.
People want to argue that illegals don't commit the same amount of crimes that Americans do.
A Mesa mother has turned an emotional scar into a movement. She tells us how she will bring attention to her organization tonight in the White House.
Some residents find street names in Phoenix offensive, how the city is taking the next step in the name decision process.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Annika Walters.
And I'm Madison Connor. Thank you for joining us. The Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board voted late last night to appeal the DACA tuition decision. The Arizona Court of Appeals ruled last week that deferred action students were not eligible to receive in-state tuition. Cronkite News reporter Holly Bernstein was at the meeting. Holly, what can you tell us about this breaking story?
It was a close vote, with board members expressing concern for both the students and the voters who enacted the law cited in the ruling more than 10 years ago. You could feel everyone holding their breath, hear a pin drop, and then
motion passes 4-3.
Applause last night as the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board voted to take the tuition fight to the Arizona Supreme Court. The board members who voted against the appeal expressed concern about going against the voters.
As much as this breaks my heart to say this, let's keep in mind that ARS 15232 did overwhelmingly pass Prop 300 by voters in our state, 71% to 29%.
Prop 300 passed in November 2006 and says the university students who are not U.S. citizens or permanent residents or do not have lawful immigration status are not eligible for in-state tuition. The state appellate court found that law reverses the lower court ruling because federal law allows states to determine optional benefits. DACA recipient April Guerrero says the vote gives her some hope.
I feel like the dreams of me transferring to Arizona State University are becoming more real, and today was just a confirmation for that.
Guerrero says she's not giving up her dream and will continue to enroll and encourages others to enroll as well.
Most importantly, to stay connected with organizations, community groups, to stay and join the fight for the next steps.
Board members told attendees last night that it would be a tough fight at the Arizona Supreme Court, though these words were followed with encouragement. In the broadcast center, Holly Bernstein, Cronkite News.
One part of President Donald Trump's immigration reforms that often gets overlooked is the creation of VOICE, the Victims of Immigration Crime Enforcement Office. Critics say the office unfairly stereotypes all immigrants, but supporters say crime victims need the assistance the office is set up to provide. One of those supporters is an Arizona mom who was back in Washington this week to continue her fight for victim assistance. Cronkite News reporter Alex Valdez has more on that story in our Washington bureau.
Mesa resident Marianne Mendoza lost her son, Sergeant Brandon Mendoza, in 2014 when an undocumented immigrant slammed into his car head-on. Since then, she has made it her mission to fight back against illegal immigration, a fight that brought her to Washington this week.
Never envisioned that that's where I would end up when I started this fight for my son's, memory and his loss. And
Mendoza was in Washington for the official launch of Advocates for Victims of Illegal Alien Crime. She co-founded the group with the goal to promote American safety and security.
We are victims who have created an organization that victims of illegal crime, no matter what it is, whether it's a murder or a rape, identity theft, assault, any of these crimes, we want the people to come out of the shadows.
She hopes the coalition can serve as a resource to victims of any immigration-related crime. Or, as she describes it, the organization wants to be truth tellers, truth seekers, and educators of the public.
We want to be a support system for these victims to try and help to direct them in the right places to get the help that they need. We do have an attorney on board who will help give them legal advice.
Mendoza, who has been advocating on behalf of victims' families since her son's death, now hopes to see the group carry on that mission, working with politicians to see immigration laws enforced. Mendoza had that message in mind today when she and a group of advocates met with President Trump at the White House.
We are going to make sure that the president does follow up on his promises and get the border wall built. We do want to work with Congress to make sure that they stop roadblocking our president, allowing him to move forward with national security.
I talked to Mendoza shortly after her meeting with President Trump this afternoon. She told me the meeting went very well and that she and other advocates got their message across to the president. Live in Washington, Alex Valdez, Cronkite News.
Phoenix City Council is taking the next step in changing controversial street names in the city. The council voted 6-3 to amend its renaming policy. This would allow them to change, quote, offensive or derogatory names without the support of at least 75% of property owners in the affected areas. Mayor Greg Stanton pushed for the change as he tries to rename two streets, Squaw Peak Drive and Robert E. Lee Street. Community members testified in support of the change.
That is disrespectful, that is derogatory, and it has no place in the great city of Phoenix in 2017.
Regardless of your own race, I think we can all be offended by, names like the name Peak or the Confederacy and the preservation of slavery.
No community members testified against the change, but a homeowner on Squaw Peak Drive submitted a letter in favor of keeping the name, saying no matter the length of time as homeowners on Squaw Peak Drive, the street name is part of our history also, and it is our purpose to now be a part of the city's history. Council members were careful in voicing concern for the policy change. While they do believe these two street names are offensive, they worry about making decisions without citizen input.
I cannot support being all-inclusive by excluding the citizens that are most impacted by taking away that right.
The only part that I find problematic with this entire policy, it is just cramming it down people's throats without talking to them first.
Under the new policy, the council will first have to agree on pursuing a name change, then notify affected homeowners, and hold at least 2 community meetings before voting on a new name or rejecting the change altogether.
The Department of Homeland Security has instated new demands for international airlines to enforce security measures for U.S.-bound flights. If the airports and airlines fail to comply, passengers will not be allowed to travel with laptops and large electronic devices.
President Trump's plan to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border has seen some setbacks. Just yesterday, officials say companies have until September to turn in their prototypes. Originally, prototype construction was set to start in July. A Customs and Border Protection deputy says construction will vary depending on the land and natural barriers along the national border.
Former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio's trial continues on its 3rd day for his contempt of court charge. A lieutenant who's worked on Arpaio's immigration squad testified today against the former sheriff. He says Arpaio personally told him to continue detaining immigrants even after the court order. And another blow for the Arpaio team. A U.S. District Judge rejected Arpaio's request to have Attorney General Jeff Sessions testify in his defense.
A new study shows that university and public college presidents have seen an increase of more than 5% in pay this year. And at the very top of the list, ASU's president, Michael Crow. Crow was paid nearly $1.6 million. The D.C. report is based on data from more than 100 college leaders in the nation.
It's being called a drug epidemic unlike anything that the country has faced before.
And Arizona is seeing a rise in heroin-related deaths. Coming up on Cronkite News, how a new task force will take action on the growing opioid epidemic.
And car breakdowns are never fun. How the Department of Public Safety stays equipped for any roadside assistance.
Các nhà lãnh đạo Việt Nam mà nói rằng là chúng tôi sẵn sàng hy sinh đến cái người dân Việt Nam cuối cùng. Thực sự mà nói thì người dân không biết được, viện miền Bắc không có thể ý thức một cách đầy đủ rằng đằng sau những cái tuyên bố mà cao cả đấy là sự hy sinh của chính họ.
About now.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Heaving one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong. Do you believe
Arizona and other states have seen a steady increase in an opioid drug-related deaths since 2015. Cronkite News reporter Noelle Lilly met with congressmen who are working from both sides of the aisle to stop this epidemic.
No death is a good death. That's what Arizona Representative Tom O'Halloran said this week at a press conference with the bipartisan heroin task force. Members of the task force met to discuss and introduce legislation in the hopes of fighting the opioid epidemic in the U.S.
This is something that's totally out of control right now, both from the standpoint of Arizona being a border state as a transport location and a distribution point.
O'Halloran, a former narcotics officer, said the drug epidemic is unlike anything the country has faced before.
Just recently in Arizona, this week I think it was, that we had 115 overdoses and 15 people die.
The bipartisan heroin task force was in 2015 as a means to combat drug addiction in various states.
This opioid and heroin epidemic has torn our communities and families apart. In 2015, over 50,000 Americans died of drug overdose.
The task force introduced legislation such as Jesse's Law, which would ensure that doctors have access to a patient's history of addiction prior to treatment or care. According to the Arizona Department of Health Services, more than 2 Arizonans died every day from opioid overdoses in 2016.
I mean, these are our kids. These are our neighbors. There are consequences for this, and it is heartbreaking when you meet the families and the parents or attend the funerals.
The task force said that teamwork would be needed to fight drug use.
We all agree that we have a crisis that we have to work together to find solutions that we can agree on.
In Washington, Noelle Lilly, Cronkite News.
The bills discussed during the press conference are scheduled for the next legislative session. Cronkite News is dedicated to covering the opioid crisis in Arizona and nationwide. Our documentary, Hooked RX From Prescription to Addiction, highlights the problem of painkillers here in our state. You can watch the documentary and find resources for getting help online at hookedrx.org.
Hot weather, worn tires, empty gas tank. All conditions that can leave you stranded on the side of the freeway. Dangerous for you and for others on the road. That's why the Arizona Department of Public Safety created a program to help. I had the chance to see what this program really does for the public. With the help of AAA, the Roadside Motorist Assistance Program, or RMA, was created. Although they are not law enforcement agents, these civilians are specialized to assist in any way they can.
We assist people that are broke down on the freeways. We assist with accidents, help the troopers at times. Anybody that's stranded on the freeway, we assist them and help them get back on the freeway and to their destination.
Crews patrol the highways equipped with drinking water, gasoline, tools, and plenty of other necessities in order to get you safely on your way. The problem they see most frequently? Blowouts. With the extreme heat, their jobs become a little bit harder, but they push through.
My main concern when I get out with someone is their safety.
While this program is here to help you, there are also things you can do to keep yourself from getting stranded in the first place, like replacing worn tires and keeping more than a quarter of gas in your tank. In 2016, RMA successfully assisted 92,982 stranded motorists. If you become stranded or see someone stranded on a highway, you can call 911 to report it to Arizona DPS. And 4th of July festivities are around the corner, and that means fireworks.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we'll let you know how to play it safe during the holiday.
It's 104 degrees right now here in Phoenix. I'll tell you what to expect the rest of the week, plus an early look at your 4th of July forecast when we come back. All right.
Fascinating.
You know, sometimes I wish I wasn't so beloved.
Can't you see? Little girl got a hold on me like wow. Baby, I'm howling for you.
It's literally one for the history books.
Enjoy.
What are you doing?
Possibilities. Your day is filled with them.
Reach up, energy in the fingertips, collapse. TV, play Downton Abbey.
And PBS helps everyone discover theirs. Anytime, anywhere.
Up in the sky, you can see it.
PBS, we're with you for life.
Governor Doug Ducey issued a state of emergency today as a northern Arizona wildfire continues to grow. In a statement, Ducey said, quote, "Not only do our hearts go out to those who have been displaced, but our attention and resources are focused heavily on containing the fire and protecting property and lives," end quote. Ducey said he's working closely with the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management. The Department of Health Services will be helping local aid officials with evacuation shelters and health needs. Evacuations are in place for Mayer, Pine Flats, Breezy Pines, and Dewey. And State Route 69 is closed between I-17 and State Route 169. More than 1,000 fire personnel have been assigned for both ground and air support. The Goodwin fire quadrupled overnight. As of this morning, it had burned 20,000 acres near the site where the Yarnell Hill fire killed 19 firefighters 4 years ago.
While the cause of that fire is still under investigation, the Phoenix Fire Department is warning that fires like that could be started over the Independence Day holiday because of fireworks. Cronkite News reporter Tyler Finger was at the Fire Academy in Phoenix today as they demonstrated the dangers of fireworks.
4th of July is known for hamburgers, hot dogs, and of course fireworks. But as they do every year, the Phoenix Fire Department is urging people tonight not to use them. This is what firefighters are worried about. Fireworks, both legal and illegal, hurting someone.
Just because these fireworks are legal doesn't mean they're not dangerous. They can still burn you. That's why we suggest don't use them at all.
More than half of the people hurt from fireworks got burned. For the Arizona Burn Center, it's predictable.
This is a tough time of year for us in the Burn Center because we see people with injuries from fireworks, people out having a good time, trying to enjoy the holidays, celebrating the 4th of July, and then something bad happens.
But injuries aren't the only concern. In our hot, dry landscape, firefighters are worried about the fire danger.
If you have a sparkler and you drop it in some dry brush, it can quickly set that brush on fire. So imagine if you have a large backyard with a lot of dead brush, you light it, it can easily get to your house, start your house on fire.
Because of those risks, the Phoenix Fire Department is hoping you leave it to the experts.
We have a ton of great fireworks shows done by professionals throughout the valley. Grab a lawn chair, grab a blanket, go out to one of these great shows, and enjoy yourself and be safe.
If you do want to set off your own fireworks, the Phoenix Fire Department has a simple tip to remember. If it flies or explodes, it's probably illegal. However, things like sparklers and smoke bombs are fine. Just keep in mind you have to do it before July 7th because if it's after that, it's illegal to set them off. And right now, the Goodwin fire, you can see it on our Doppler radar, the smoke from that showing up here, the smoke that's rising. And right now across the state, up in Prescott, 89 degrees. So the firefighters there are dealing with a little bit high temperatures. Here in Phoenix, though, 105, down in Tucson, 104. Here in the Phoenix area, it's going to slowly go down overnight until about 11 p.m., 95 in Phoenix, 85 in Buckeye, and 87 up in Cave Creek. And as we take a look across the radar, you're not seeing anything pretty much right now. No storms, no rain expected. And as we look at your 4th of July forecast for the night, by about 9 p.m., it's expected to be about 90 degrees out there, so it'll be a nice night. And as we take a look at your 3-day forecast as we move through, Thursday will be 107. It will go up to about 111 on Saturday. And then for the rest of the forecast, as I said, on 4th of July, 109, and that'll continue through Wednesday. Tyler Finger, Cronkite Weather.
ASU is taking new steps in sports, this time in golf.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we tell you how the Sun Devils plan to host an NCAA championship 3 years in a row, right here in the Valley.
Combat is like crack cocaine. It's an enormous high, but it has enormous costs. And I think that we make a big mistake if we say, oh, well, war is hell. We all know the war is hell story. It is, but there's an enormously exhilarating part of it.
Heaven knows you're a dreamer. Don't hide it from anyone. Don't hide it from anyone. Would you believe me if I said we are here for a reason now? This is our life. This is what counts. This is for us. I will go anywhere for you.
In 2020, the NCAA Golf Championships will begin a 3-year run at Grayhawk Golf Course in Scottsdale. And as Cronkite News reporter Greg McAfee explains, ASU hopes they never leave.
Arizona State will team up with Greyhawk Golf Club to become the first venue to host the event for 3 straight years. But the school is planning for the future beyond 2022.
You know, our ultimate goal long term is not just to host it for 3 years. We want to become what Omaha is for baseball, where we make this Greyhawk, Scottsdale, Phoenix, the Valley, the home of collegiate golf championships forever.
This will be the 68th year that Omaha, Nebraska has hosted the College World Series. To approach that longevity, Harris said ASU and Greyhawk will have to put on successful events with enough support from the community to keep the championships here in Arizona. Greg Trias, president and owner of Greyhawk Development, believes the club's success in hosting large-scale tournaments in the past, including the PGA Tour's Fries.com Open and Pro-Ams for the Waste Management Phoenix Open, gives it a leg up.
I think there's a chance for us to turn this into the kind of event that it'd be hard to take away. We view the NCAA championships as one of the misunderstood fun things to watch on TV and fun things to come be a part of.
Arizona State Athletic Director Ray Anderson said the two parties came together after the NCAA and the Golf Channel approached Greg Trias. Trias then brought it to Arizona State so that they could put together a special opportunity to host the NCAA Golf Championships here at Greyhawk Golf Course.
Part of the discussion was how do we do something different and unique that will help Golf Channel produce a event with some continuity and consistency of quality. And so this is the first time that a university and a private club got together to present a multi-year venue opportunity to the NCAA.
Anderson said that Arizona State has ambitions to host NCAA championships outside of golf. He said at some point the school hopes to bring the NCAA hockey championships, wrestling championships, and even tennis championships to Tempe. Greg McAfee, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we'll discuss how Arizona businesses might be impacted by the Senate Republican health care plan. And we'll talk education issues with State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Diane Douglas. That's the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour. As summer brings a spike in Lyme disease, Miles O'Brien looks at why there's a vaccine for dogs but not humans. That's Wednesday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
As the snow melts in Yellowstone, signs of new life emerge. Some will thrive, some will struggle, and for others, the new season can be devastating.
The water's come up a lot since I was here last. This has got me scared stiff.
Tonight at 8 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
Arizona PBS provides great musical performances all year long, and now we have some of the best seats to see your favorite acts live and in concert. Arizona PBS Box Office presents a backstage pass to meet world-class performers. Arizona PBS Box Office presents a chance to see exciting performances before they sell out. This month, Arizona PBS Box Office presents Grammy Award-winning Diana Krall, performing in concert at Phoenix Symphony Hall on Wednesday, August 9th.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World.
I'm Scott Pelley, anchor and managing editor of the CBS Evening News. In our changing media landscape, it is crucial for journalism education to ensure a commitment to the truth, unbiased reporting, strong ethics, unwavering fairness, and above all else, accuracy. These are the hallmarks of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. It's a place where students can innovate and transform the news industry while always upholding the values of the school's namesake. The Cronkite School at ASU, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
Coming soon to Arizona PBS.
This July 4th, celebrate with the biggest stars. It's a Capitol 4th with the legendary Beach Boys, the Blues Brothers, featuring Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi, Motown's The Four Tops, pop sensation Sophia Carson, country music's Trace Atkins, recording star Mark McGrath, the National Symphony Orchestra, your host, John Stamos, and fireworks, live from the U.S. Capitol. It's a Capitol 4th.
Tuesday night at 7 on Arizona PBS. Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Whitfield Nursery, proud to support Arizona PBS, a Valley tradition since 1946. Over 200 acres of Arizona-grown trees, citrus, and palms. Complete custom design and installation. And Whitfield Nursery still does the digging. WhitfieldNursery.com.
Upa's Thai Kitchen in Tempe features fresh, authentic Thai cuisine and vegetarian Thai dishes served in a homeland-style decor atmosphere. Open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Information at 480-839-0576.
Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, how will the Senate's proposed health care bill affect Arizona hospitals? Also tonight, we'll talk to Superintendent of Public Instruction Diane Douglas about her push to get more money for education. And we'll tour an Arizona museum dedicated to showcasing the West. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Governor Doug Ducey has declared a state of emergency in Yavapai County due to the Goodwin fire, which has grown to 32 square miles and has forced the evacuation of thousands near the communities of Mayer and Dewey Humboldt. The fire is only 1% contained, and firefighters are struggling with high winds and rugged terrain. And day 3 of former Sheriff Joe Arpaio's criminal contempt of court trial included one former employee testifying that he witnessed a tense exchange after a colleague who complained to Arpaio that a command the sheriff had issued would violate a court order barring Arpaio's immigration patrols. Earlier in the day, another former employee testified that nothing changed at the sheriff's office despite that court order. The former supervisor on Arpaio's elite immigrant smuggling squad testified that he didn't even know about a court order regarding the immigration patrols until 17 months after it was issued. Also of note today, the judge declined Arpaio's bid to call U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions to testify at the trial. President Trump today weighed in on the Senate's efforts to pass a health care bill, saying that approval will be very tough, but that Republicans will, quote, get it over the line. The Senate has delayed consideration of the measure until after the July 4th holiday, which gives stakeholders across the country time to have their voices heard. We've been hearing from people involved in the health care debate all week. Tonight, a look at the proposed bill's potential impact on our state's hospitals. Joining us now is Jennifer Carr.